So, I'm back, and now we want to look at some other stuff that we can do with the home page. Now, we had a video here before. I already deleted that. So now let's see what else we can add, what we can do. So one thing we can do, which is very nice actually, is that Wix has certain strips that have columns in them. So I'm just going to take one of these and put it here. And before I do anything else, I'm going to go here and I'm going to make this equal. Now you can also play around with the proportions, or you can have other kinds of configurations, but for now I'm just going to go with the equal one. Then I'm going to delete all of this stuff here, and I'm going to change the column background. So site files, photos, and here we have a very pissed off looking cat. Same thing here. We always end up with this Wix default images. It's a bit like that Proxima Nova nightmare. And again, photos, and I have one here. Now, as you can see, these photos have all been cropped so that the cats are in the center. So when you prepare something in Photo P, you should pre-crop it, or you can also crop it in Wix. There's a way to crop it in Wix as well. So let's change this background as well. So now we have 3 cats. I'm going to make this a bit longer. Actually, come in a bit like this. Now, what we have is that, as you can see, this column ends here, and the header that we have from the previous design is not aligning exactly. There's a little bit, and these little bits are very annoying. You never want to have them. You want things to be either completely unaligned, or you want them to be aligned exactly in graphic design. And also, the other problem is that if we go to preview, and if we make the site narrower, now these cats are going to move together with the narrow design, but the header is not going to move, and so the alignment, there's always going to be that alignment issue, and we don't want that. And the only way to really fix that is to get rid of this header, because this header depends on a design that's going to be aligned to it, and we're not going to have such a design. So now I'm going to go to the library where I already have something prepared. I'm just going to copy it, go back to the home page, and paste. Now, before I do anything else, I'm going to change the colors of the header. So I'm just going to make them all black. And then I'm just going to attach this to the header. And then also put it in such a position that it's centered. You can see the purple lines. However, I think I can move this further up, which is going to give me an even narrower header, which is something that could be quite nice, because it's going to leave more space for the actual content of the site. So now we basically have the beginnings of a home page that looks quite different from the one with the video. So now let's add some text to this. Now, when you click on one of these columns, you will see these squiggly lines. Remember the squiggly lines that we have on the page as well, that we can't see right now, because right now we're inside the column. Anything that gets put here inside these squiggly lines will always be visible even when the site gets narrower. And I'm going to show you what I mean in just a second. So I'm just going to add some text, just dragging a paragraph, nothing. So I already have some prepared text here, so I'm just going to copy this and say edit text, paste, make it white, so make it semi-bold, and then make it bigger. So make this come in. Maybe make it a bit smaller, might be too big. So now we have the first pissed off cat saying, don't piss me off. Now, this area that is safe for the text can also get changed to the left or the right. So what I'm doing now is, let me just shut this so that you can see it better. Now, when I click on the column and then I go to layouts, I can say that this text should be on the left, and then if I go here and again click here, I can say this should be on the right. So the one in the middle is in the middle, the one on the right is on the left is on the right, and the one on the right is on the left. Now let's just copy paste this and bring it up here where I already have my little blurb, and I can just paste that in. However, I would like that to be a different font, so let's see, Barlow Condensed Light, or maybe even Barlow Condensed Thin. So let's see, oops, for some reason I can't. Wix is acting up again. Here we are. Now I can make this a bit bigger, and I'm also going to decrease the spacing between the lines. Like so. So the second cat says, I'm ignoring you, just in case you want to know. Now let's take this here, put it here, so it has to be in the correct area. Ne söyleyeceksen söyle, says the third cat. Say what you're going to say. And now again I'm going to change the font so that it becomes a bit more interesting. Make it regular. Actually, might be more interesting if this, if this goes up like that. So now we have three little blurbs or headlines, if you want to call them, which are saying different things. So let's go back to preview. Now, let me show you what I mean. Now, if we move this in, then the text always stays visible because it's moving together with the columns, and that's what we want to have happen. So now let's add something more on the bottom here. So I'm going to put down another paragraph, and I already have text here, which is good for a home page where I explain what the, and hold on, let me just turn on my rulers. So this is already aligned to here, which is good. So let me make another one which is kind of about the same width, and stretch this out and make the font size bigger. And also, because it's a centered design, I'm also going to make this centered, and this can become a separate sentence. So now let's look at it again. So it's become a home page like this. Now, when you put text on photographs, you have to make sure that it's readable, legible, so that you either have white text on a background which is dark enough for it to be readable, or in this case there's no problem at all anyway, but here there's a slight problem. And another way of doing this, which is actually quite a nice way of doing it, is if you add a highlight to it. So I just did that, but the best way that these highlights work is if the lines are actually a bit separated so that we can see the space in between. Now, let's take a look. Because we now have the highlight, we don't need to have the text to be this big. We can make it smaller, but I still quite like the two different lines. So I can bring this in a bit, and like so. And because now it has the highlight, I can also, for example, put it on this white spot here, which might actually look quite nice, but I think I'm going to leave it down here. Now let's look again. What I think I might like to do is I might want to put a bit of spacing between these columns so that they separate themselves a bit from the header. So this is 2 pixels. Let's try. This was 4. 2 might be too little. Let's go back to 4. And now let's look again. And do these white lines actually do anything? Well, I probably want to go back to no spacing. I don't like what I did. So this is something that happens all the time when you're designing. Now, what we did here with this highlight is, and also just one other little trick, if you want to extend the highlight a bit, you can just add a space behind the words and it'll extend the highlight, which will make it look better. But what we did with this here is we actually created a design style. And when we do something like that, we have to kind of like repeat that in certain places all over the site so that we have a consistency, so that we have an identity. I don't mean that we should be repeating it everywhere, you know, a little bit here, a little bit there, like a sprinkle. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to also add highlights in places where it would be appropriate. So I have this word here, bu kadar basit. That's simple. Now that would be a good place to add a highlight. So I'm going to make this black. I'm going to make the text white. And then I have this word here, yalnız değilsiniz. You're not alone. Now that would also be a good place to add a highlight. So now what we have is we have a design consistency. So we have the highlight here and we have the highlights there. But now when I'm looking at this, I'm also thinking that this text is probably a bit too big. This is 24. Let's bring this down to 20 and see what happens. And also, let's open up the lines a bit. And move this up. Now, something I did, which I said that I was going to do, but I did that in your absence, so to speak. I fixed the footer. So I changed the footer to a better design than what we had before, which you can see what we had before in the previous videos. I made it black so that it actually becomes like the header. I made these were 17 points. I brought them down to 15, both of these. And then I also, obviously on a black background, you're not going to have black icons, so I made these gray. But these are big, and you can't really make them smaller, unfortunately. But what you can do is you can change them with your own hold on, here you can say replace icon, and you can change it from right here. And if you go to a place like FreePic, there are a lot of really nice social media icons. So just, woo! Now, since you have a free account, you need to check this so that you only see the ones that have the that are free, and you can just download any of them, and then you open them in Photopea, like I showed you in the other video, and then you can just change them with this. So that's our design version number 2 now, and we will continue on to something else in just a little while. But now, while I'm looking at this, I'm thinking that I would probably like to make this a bit smaller. So I'm also showing you all of these things because I want you to get a sense of going back and forth and how important it is to pay attention to details while you're designing and things like that. So that is why I'm also showing you all of these things about how I am personally going back and forth. So another thing, for example, that I think I want to do is I think I want to make the header a little bit wider and then bring this down a little bit as well. And now I think this is pretty much fit for purpose. So I'll see you in the next one.